Where is my stimulus check, my first stimulus check? So many of you have been asking this question because we're talking about the second stimulus, but you haven't even received your first stimulus check. Just this morning in the comments I saw, MIA, my first stimulus check, I still haven't received it. So let's go to some of the reasons why. According to the IRS this morning, we've got some updates now from the IRS on where your current stimulus check would be in that first round, that first $1,200 that was supposed to be sent out starting at the end of March. So what the IRS is saying right now, that 2019 tax returns are currently under review. And so a lot of people have been waiting for their refunds from their 2019 tax returns in addition to their stimulus payments. But they're not getting their stimulus payments until their tax returns are reviewed and audited. And so right now you have, for instance, in a piece I read this morning, a single mother, she was counting on her $700 stimulus check to help her pay her bills. And her hours were reduced from her employment. It was cut in half because of the pandemic. The check hasn't arrived yet. The $700 she was supposed to get because she has one dependent, $1,200 plus $500. Even though the IRS's servicing app says that the check, that she was eligible for it. She's like, where is it? I should have gotten it weeks ago. And she needs it to pay rent and groceries. Neither has the $5,000 refund that she's supposed to get from her tax return. Well, the IRS says that they've notified her that because they're looking at her 2019 tax returns, they haven't been able to get to them yet. So they can't get her refund and therefore can't get her stimulus out yet. Why? Because many of these employees are home. So if they filed these 2019 tax returns, many of the IRS employees are working remotely. They are from home right now. They don't have access to the paper filings that are on their desks back in Washington or wherever their local IRS office is. So they're home. They're waiting just like the rest of us to get back to work. And so they may have to wait until June or even July to get some of these 2019 tax returns processed. So that's just one reason. There's a new Facebook group that's popped up as a result of this for people in a similar situation. But let's get to some of the other common reasons why you haven't gotten your stimulus check yet. Where is my payment right now? That's the broader question. To get the quickest payment, the IRS wants you to make sure that you have your direct deposit information on file. Otherwise, they're going to send you a paper check. So one of the reasons why you haven't gotten a check is because you didn't go to irs.gov and go to the non-filers tab and put in your direct deposit information. That's one thing the IRS is telling us this morning. They also are saying if we have the wrong bank account information, it would have been sent to that bank account, it'll be sent back to us at the IRS, and then we'll have to cut you a paper check by that time to the last known address that we have on file. It could be that you closed your account or that you had a temporary bank account that you used with like an H&R Block or a Jackson Hewitt or something like that. And because the government is only issuing about 5,000 paper checks per week right now, it may take many, many months for that money to reach you, unfortunately. So if you want to check to see if you had an erroneous bank account on file, or you had a temporary bank account that was closed because you worked with one of those tax preparers like an H&R Block or a Jackson Hewitt or one of those other ones. And once you do receive a payment, so it could take up to 20 weeks for you to receive that payment. Once you do receive a payment, you should receive a letter in the mail from the government confirming that it was sent out. So you'll know that it was sent out because you're going to get a letter separately saying it was sent out. Another question a lot of people have is, why is my check less than I thought it would be? Again, in the comments, I've seen many of you say, I was supposed to get this and I didn't. That's because the IRS basically screwed up, and they admitted that they, in some situations where you were supposed to get money for a dependent, $500 for a dependent, they didn't do it, basically. What they're saying is that you will eventually get it, but it won't be until January of next year that you'll get the additional dependent payment, which is unbelievable, right? Can't they, if they know they've screwed up, can't they send out a supplemental check to you right now? I said, if I owed the IRS money, they'd get a letter out to me quick, right? If I owed them money. But now that you need this $500 and they screwed up and they admit to it, they have to wait until January of next year to get you these additional dependent payments. It's absurd. So the checks should be $1,200 per person plus that additional $500 per dependent. But many people are saying It was far less than it should have been. And it was oddly off by a few $100s. And that's because the IRS calculated it wrong. And so you'll have to get that additional money in the next tax year. So some of the other things that people are noticing is that your check could fall short if the government information that you had on file did not have your dependents on file. Like you thought you would get that $500, but you never went to their website to update them. You know, they're basing it on your 2018 and 2019 taxes. But if you had a baby in between, or you have a dependent in between, they don't know that. And these departments don't talk, right? So they're not going to know that you have a dependent. So you had to go to their website and update that information. That's what the IRS is telling us. Another question people are saying is, why didn't I get a check at all? Well, dependents that include 17 or older, such as college students and adults, thought they would get a check. Under this first stimulus act, they did not. The rules also said that you had to have a Social Security number in order to get the stimulus money. So if you file taxes with an individual taxpayer identification number, then, or you are a non-resident alien, you didn't qualify. Now, the good news is that under the HEROES Act that was just passed in the House of Representatives, they fixed those holes. So this, you know, being an adult dependent, you get paid. If you have an individual taxpayer identification number, you'd also get a stimulus payment, even if you didn't have a Social Security number. But of course, we don't know if this bill will actually make it anywhere in the Senate right now, or is it totally doomed? Or if you're an American who files jointly with a spouse who's an unauthorized immigrant, you don't get an automatic payment. Now that changed again under the new HEROES Act that was just passed. Is there any way to get more money? Many of you have been asking. If you had your extra funds, if you received your money, if you should have received more money than you did, you thought, man, I should have gotten more money in this, I didn't see it here, why not? You will be eligible next tax year when you're filing your 2020 tax return. I know that doesn't help you right now, but because remember, this was a tax credit for the 2020 tax year. So if you made more money in 2019 than you did in 2020, but they're basing it on your 2019 tax returns, and you're like, well, now I'm out of work. Well, then you're eligible for an additional tax credit when you file your taxes next year, after the new year, 2021. Hope that makes sense. I know it's a little complicated, but remember the 2020, this stimulus bill is for 2020 tax year. And so if you're in many Americans, 36 million Americans were employed just a few months ago, and now they're out of work. So chances are many people are going to have to be filing to get that additional money in the 2021 calendar tax filing season. So there you go. Those are some reasons why you have not received a stimulus check right now. Let me know in the comments if you've been in this situation or if you have a more unique situation and you're wondering why haven't you received your stimulus check. We'll try to answer those questions in the comments. Please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, and drop me a like as well. And thank you so much for joining us on the show.